So even though this was one of the worst times of my life, I still felt like it was a season.
Because somebody right now is going through that. Like, I'm at the bottom of my bottom. I don't know how I'm going to get back. I'm feeling shameful. My business just failed. I don't want to tell nobody. Talk me through that.
It has to work or it has to work.
Why is redefining wealth from the money aspect so important right now?
Well, yeah, at that time, there were a lot of us. You mentioned Tiffany and Tanya. Well, actually, not a lot of us. There were a few of us. Now, there are a lot more African-American women in particular in this space. But 10 years ago, it was like the three of us and a few other people.
What made you start that, though? How did you get the...
Well, Redefining Wealth was born just from the understanding, Neo, that I was helping people with what used to be called real money answers. And I was so good at giving people on the Steve Harvey show, Dr. Oz, like all the media I was doing, the good sound bites on practical financial wisdom. But when I would speak on stages and meet people in the back of the room, meet people at the airport, they would always say, I heard what you said, but. And the but was always followed by all the other parts of life that were really impacting their finances. And I had this moment, I was on the Dr. Oz show, it was like 2016. And I remember, Dr. Oz loves a good visual. I'm on the show. They're like, we're going to talk to people about saving on their groceries. And we start moving these little felt pieces of broccoli from one board to the next. And that still small voice was like, this is not the truth about wealth as you know it. You know that when you were on the bathroom floor in 2009, after losing everything in the recession, foreclosure, car repossession, bankruptcy, and you were scraping together change. After having a 7-figure business, you were scraping together change to feed your daughter.
Wow.
You know that this little board moving broccoli from one, that wouldn't have been what helped you. When I was on the bathroom floor and I found that scripture, Proverbs 17:16, it said, what good is money in the hands of a fool if they had no desire to seek wisdom? So I started to really unpack, well, what is wisdom? Wisdom is knowledge and information, right? I started to really unpack it and I realized knowledge is just information and education, but wisdom is knowing how to apply it, right? So a lot of us hear all the information and then we still get stuck on the application because we don't have wisdom. And wisdom really comes through the doing. It comes through the communities, through being in a circle of greatness where other people are having these elevated conversations. And in 2016, when I was on the Dr. Oz show, I was like, I don't want to talk about money like this anymore because I know what I've been doing since 2009 when I got up off that bathroom floor. It wasn't just cutting coupons. It wasn't just budgeting. It wasn't doing the basic things we hear all the time. I was working on myself mentally and physically. I was working on my relationships, personally and professionally. I was really working on my faith, not just saying I believe in something, but making time to practice it. I was working on my space. What does my environment say about me? What does it reflect about who I say I want to become? I was working on my purpose, not just working to chase money, but working because I wanted to feel fulfilled and know that my life had impact. And then I could do all the things I had always heard about money, right? So everything I just listed, those are what I now call the 6 pillars of wealth. And those are the parts of your life that impact your finances, even when you're not thinking about it. Because everything that we do connects back to how we relate to money. It connects back to how we spend money, manage money, all of the stuff. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a people problem. They have a faith problem. They have a purpose problem. They're not in the right space. They're around people that really deserve some more boundaries. They have all these other things going on, but we think chasing money is going to be the answer. It's never the answer. You will still feel unfulfilled. You'll still be unhappy and you'll still be broke, not just financially broke, but broken in spirit. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt that deep yearning inside? It's like a whisper in your soul telling you that there is more to how you are living today. There's more than just climbing the corporate ladder and being content. There's more than how we've been taught to pursue wealth and financial success. There's more than just the good title and the house and the cars. There's more. I believe that there's a world of infinite possibilities waiting for you. And I want to invite you to join me in Atlanta, Georgia from October 6th through 8th for Redefining Wealth Live, where our theme is Meant for More. This 3-day experience is intended to help you get off autopilot, discover your deepest desires, and authentically manifest your dreams. I'm talking about transformational teachings, transformational connections, and transformational experiences that will help you create greater harmony, peace, and joy as you pursue professional pursuits, but do it with your desires in mind. This inaugural event is themed Meant for More because I truly believe that you were born on purpose, with purpose, for purpose. Do not let fear or doubt hold you back from getting in this room, even if you have to come alone. Secure your seat at Redefining Wealth Live by visiting redefiningwealthlive.com. That's redefiningwealthlive.com. You, purpose chaser, are meant for more, and I can't wait to guide you on this remarkable journey of true internal and external transformation. I'll see you in Atlanta.
I gotta ask you though, because you said something and you went over it. You said you went bankrupt. You did all of this from having a 7-figure business and going. How do you pick yourself back up? Well, what was the cause of it, if you don't mind? But how do you pick yourself up from a spirit? Because I would probably be embarrassed.
Oh, yeah.
I would feel
shame.
I would
guilt.
feel a lot of, but you went and built another crazy, like how do you, they say once you do it once, you could do it again, but talk me through that process, because somebody right now is going through that. Like I'm at the bottom of my bottom. I don't know how I'm going to get back. I'm feeling shameful. My business just failed. I don't want to tell nobody. Talk me through that.
Yeah. So what actually led to that is in 2007, when the real estate market was beginning to crash, I was actually in the hospital on bed rest. So I know you done had 17 kids since I last saw you. But you already know that if a woman falls down the stairs at 20 weeks pregnant, that's a problem.
Yes.
I got to the emergency room and they said, ma'am, I'm sorry, this baby's coming any minute now. There's nothing we could do. I did what I knew to do. I started to pray. I called and asked other people to pray. And what was supposed to be any minute now ended up with me being on hospital bed rest for 10 weeks.
Wow.
And then my daughter Reagan was in the hospital for 3.5 weeks in the NICU. So all this time, though, I'm watching the news, and every day the banks that I work with are closing down one by one.
Wow.
I have 16 loan officers and real estate agents who work on my team.
Wow.
I was a real estate and mortgage broker since I was like 22.
So you're a broker. Okay.
Yep, I was a broker. And so I have all these people on my team. They can't close any deals because the banks that we work with are not lending, and it's a whole thing. And it literally got to the point where I was wearing a little monitor around my waist to monitor the baby. And the doctor came in and she said, Patrice, if you don't stop stressing, you're going to leave here 2 years in a row with no baby.
Wow.
Because the year before I had a son who passed away after 5 hours. He was also born prematurely.
Wow.
So all of these things are happening.
Wow.
I literally had to ask them to take the TV off the wall because I didn't want to keep watching the news where they were talking about all this stuff. My husband at the time took the laptop away, and I just had a Bible, and I had a red leather journal that I used to write to my baby, and an iPod. So you know this is old. An iPod with like praise and worship music on it, and I just had to faith my way all the way through that. But when I got out, I also learned that the insurance company had dropped me. So that whole time I was racking up almost $400,000 in medical debt. Yeah. Ooh. So this is what led to, you know, losing everything, me laying the team off eventually and just having to voluntarily give back my Range Rover. We had matching Range Rovers. We lived in a huge house in Southern California, and literally we ended up fleeing. It was like 2008, about a year later, to Metairie, Louisiana, where I lived in a 600 square foot apartment after living in a 6,000 square foot home.
And then in Louisiana, ain't nothing in whatever part.
From one LA to the next LA. Now, no shade to people from Louisiana, but it was a culture shock for me. It was very different coming from Los Angeles. But when you ask, how did I do it? This is where I think the faith pillar really comes in. And to me, it's not being like overly religious. It's understanding that faith, for me, has meant believing that all things are happening for me and not to me. So even though this was one of the worst times of my life, I still felt like it was a season. Yeah. And that's what keeps people stuck and keeps people down, because when they experience a setback or a failure sometime, like some kind, they start to go, oh, my life is over and all this. It wasn't fun. It was literally one of the worst things I've ever experienced. But I also used to have these mantras I would say. I would look at people in Range Rovers driving by me and I'd be like, been there, done that on the way back. I would go walk along the lakeside and look at the big homes, 6,000 square foot homes that reminded me of my house in California. And I'd be like, I'll be back. Like, you know, this is a season. So my mindset is always, when I experience anything, even most recently going through a divorce after 18 years of being in a relationship with someone, 15 years of marriage, even though this has been a difficult season, I believe that I've navigated with as much ease and grace and peace and dignity as possible because I'm like, it's a season. And in this season, there's a lesson. There are multiple lessons that I get to learn. There are things I get to discover about myself. And all of these things are going to come together for my good because I say so and because that's what I believe. And I think that Steve Harvey used to tell me all the time, you don't get what you want, you get what you believe. And I believe that it's a season. I believe this is temporary. And that's the space you have to be in when you're in one of these times.